All right, guys, in one of my previous videos, you watched how you can put together one of these workflows using N8N to essentially generate material for posts on Facebook Marketplace. Well, what if you wanted to use actual listings? A couple of issues come up. Number one, you may not have enough listings yourself. Number two, if you want to leverage other agents, you may not be part of a big team where you can have access to a bunch of listings, or you may not be part of a brokerage that's willing to share their listings for you to promote. So then what do? Well, in most cases, a lot of successful agents on Facebook Marketplace will just essentially have a directory of all new listings that would come in. They would reach out individually to all of the agents, get the permissions, get it posted up on Facebook Marketplace. But to me, that sounds like a daunting process, even though it does work very well because it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the listing agent, free promotion. It's a win for you because you're picking up buyers. But what if I could tell you can automate that entire process? Well, that's what this workflow is. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how each step of the workflow works. And then I'll show you exactly how you can copy paste this, put it into N8N, change a few credentials around, and have it working for you within about 15 minutes. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention to you, after you do get the permissions from that agent saying, hey, yeah, you can go ahead and promote my listing online, there's another sub workflow that takes all the details of that listing and it generates then that post for you. It sends it back to your email. So you're at that point just copy pasting, and the entire process that normally if you were doing manually would probably take you 10 hours a week is all done within literally an hour. Okay, so let's get started with the first one here, the listing scraper. So I'm going to go ahead and click execute workflow. And here it'll ask me for a few details. So for the city, I'll go ahead and put Toronto. For the community, I'll say Liberty Village. And then for max price, let's say under $750,000. Click submit. So the first thing that happens here is it's getting the coordinates for that area that you just selected. And that's important because we're feeding this information into the next tool, which is a scraper. It gets listings specifically from that area. Then it prepares the data, right? So out of this massive clump of text, it's figuring out what's the latitude, what's the longitude. We need this information. And then the max price point that you just entered. Then it's preparing a Realtor.ca URL. Okay, so if I was to copy this Realtor.ca URL, if I was to post it over here, boom, it picked up all the listings under that price point in Liberty Village and surrounding areas on Realtor.ca. Now, when that is done, it goes into a Realtor.ca scraper. We use a website called Appify to get access to this scraper. So anyway, it went ahead and scraped all of the listings in that area, and it gave us 500 results, which is way too much. So we need to filter that. That's where this little code comes in. It filters and gives us 50 items, so 50 listings. And then from there, for each of the listings, what's happening here is there's an AI agent, there's a loop, and in each of the loops, there's an AI agent who's searching for the email address of that realtor online. Okay. The reason why this is happening is because Realtor.ca does not give you that realtor's email address. So here what's happening is we're giving that person's name, we're giving their phone number, and we're giving their brokerage, and then we're asking this tool to go online and search whether or not we can find an email. Now, if we do end up finding an email, then we prepare a draft, a permission draft, okay? So the subject of that email is going to be, hey, can I promote your Toronto listing? And then the actual email will be, hey, Mike, in this case, Sammy Ahmed here. You'd obviously replace your name. I'll show you how to do that later. Local realtor in Toronto, quick question about your listing. And then it has that URL for the listing. Mind if I promote it on my social media? I'll include your contact details so interested buyers can reach out to you directly. If I happen to bring a buyer, we both benefit. Let me know. And then a little signature there at the very end. Okay. So this gets drafted into your Gmail. And I can show you an example here. As you can see, this bot's been running for a little bit, and I've got all these emails drafted. So if I was to click on one of them, hey, Mike, so that email that you saw earlier, the one thing you want to do here before you click send, and the reason why I'm not just sending them as part of the workflow is I want to just make sure when I look up this Realtor.ca page. Is it actually Mike? Okay, so it is Mike. Awesome. Now I can go ahead and send that email and wait for Mike to respond. And I'm going to do that for all of these emails. You can see that I have already, out of this few runs that I've done, 29 emails drafted. Okay. Out of these 29 emails that are drafted, obviously there's going to be a ton of people that say, yes, go ahead. And that's your ticket to go ahead and then make that marketplace post. Obviously, we also know, like I mentioned earlier, not every single realtor will have their email address online. And that's why this entire if then process exists. If we can find their email, then it'll draft that email in your Gmail. If we cannot find their email address, then it'll just go on to the next listing, so on and so forth. Okay, so now what happens when you do have permission from that realtor and they're saying, yeah, go ahead and post my listing? Well, you can obviously go on to Realtor.ca, download the images, download the description, and then make it pretty for Facebook Marketplace, go ahead and post it. But even for that step, we have this next workflow that will essentially do that for you without you lifting a finger. So we're going to go into this next workflow over here, click execute. And now what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to take that listing over here. I'm going to take that URL, I'm going to copy it, paste the URL, the listing URL, submit. And now what's happening is it's scraping again the details of that particular listing. Boom, awesome. So we found all that detail. And then from there, there's a copywriting agent. So this is basically where we're giving this AI agent all of the information about that particular listing. So it's a apartment, it's 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, it's over 500 square feet. That is the listing agent, and this is the property description. From there, we're basically saying, hey, these are some of the best practices for a Facebook Marketplace, title, a description, what keywords to include when relevant, the structure requirements. So we want property details first, the features first. Then we want a call to action, message me to schedule your private showing. Then we want to put a disclaimer at the very end saying, hey, it obviously belongs to a particular listing agent, right? And now we need to download all of the images. Well, not all the images. We're going to download 5 of the images from that listing. And then we're going to send ourselves an email with essentially the address for that listing, the title that AI just generated for you, the entire description. And as you can see here at the bottom, it says, hey, it's a disclaimer that I'm promoting this on behalf of another agent, but do contact me for the private showing. Okay. So if I was to now go into my email, you could see here that it's given me that title. I can go ahead and copy paste. It's giving me the entire description. And it's also given me the images. So I don't need to go manually download the images from Realtor.ca. Now, obviously, if it gives you images, because it ultimately depends on how well the agent structured the images when they were posting it. Some agents just post like 1,000 outdoor images first at the top, right? So obviously you want a little bit more selection. That step would be manual. If you end up getting an email where all of the images are for outside, then you want to go back onto that URL and just manually download the right images. But in most cases, as long as it's well structured, you should get the right images as part of this email. Now, this has made it super easy for you because, again, let's just go through the whole process. You got the permission. You didn't have to lift a finger. You sent it to a bunch of agents. A bunch of agents responded with yes. And then when that happened, you just simply took the URL of that listing, put it into the second bot, and that bot generated the exact title, description, gave you the images. So all you have to do now is go and post it on your Facebook Marketplace, post it in a bunch of groups, and wait for the leads to roll in. All right, so now what you want to do is click on the link at the bottom of this video, and you'll be able to go into our Skool group, and there you'll find the downloadable version of this particular workflow. Once you have it downloaded, all you're going to do is go ahead and sign up for N8N. There's also a link in my description where you can sign up for N8N. And when you do sign up for N8N, all you got to do is create workflow. So it'll create a new workflow for you. You can click import from file, and the workflow that you downloaded from Skool, you're going to click on that, and boom, you have the workflow with you. Once that is done, you're going to need to set up the credentials. So the first credential that we're going to set up, if you watch a couple of my videos, you probably have this done, but if you haven't, you want to go into OpenAI to create your API key. So you're going to click on login to the API platform on the settings section over here. Click on that. Click on API keys. Create new secret key. You can call this, let's say, N8N test key. Select default project. And here's your API key. Click copy. Go back to the workflow. Click on this OpenAI chat model over here, this little button. Click on that. And over here for you, although I have my OpenAI account connected, you won't have anything here. So what you want to do is create new credential. You can name it OpenAI API, and that API key that you just copied, go ahead and paste it and click on save. Once you have clicked on save, you will now have your API key connected. So all of these OpenAI tools will then start to work. So that's the first step. The second step that you need to do is go on to Tavly.com. Here, go ahead and just create a free login. And once you do create a login, what you'd want to do is create a new API key. So click on this plus sign. You want to select production. You can call it, let's say, N8N API. I'm just going to say test for my purpose. Go ahead and click create. And now it will show up here at the bottom. Click on copy. You've copied your API. So now all you have to do is go back, find the Tavly tool over here. Same idea. It will have underneath header auth, it will be empty for you. So you want to do is create new credential. For the name section, type down authorization. And here in the value section, just go ahead and paste that key that you just copied from Tavly.ai. Be sure to name it Tavly API key. And then go ahead and just click save. Once you have, your Tavly will now be connected. Okay, and Tavly is being used to search online, just so you know, because OpenAI is great. All these AI models are great, but they're not connected to the internet when you're using them within workflows. So we need to create this Tavly API key. Now what you need to do is go on to Appify.com. Again, same idea, create a new account. Once you have created an account, what you need to do is go ahead and find your API key. So I believe that will be in settings, API and integrations. You can create new token, call it N8N API, create. And now you can go ahead again, copy that. And we need to find the Realtor.ca scraper. Okay, so we got to actually put this into two sections. So we're going to do it at the top over here. Underneath token, the value will be empty. So go ahead and just paste that value there. And then you're going to do the same thing for single listing scraper. Go ahead and paste the value there. And then what you need to do is you need to actually activate actually a couple of steps. So you got to make sure that you have your billing set up on Appify. So go ahead and start your billing. I think it should be like relatively easy to figure out. So yeah, you can select the $39 per month plan. And essentially what it is, it gives you $39 worth of credits. So you can use that towards a bunch of different scrapers. In this case, we're going to use a particular scraper. And we do need to activate that particular scraper. So go back to your workflow. You'll have a link over here. Click on that link. It'll take you to the Realtor.ca property and agent scraper. And keep in mind, I did this for Canadian agents. Maybe in the future, if there's enough demand, I will do this for US-based agents. It will use a different scraper. So this will not work in the US, just so you know. Click try for free. And here, what you'll want to do is, I already have it rented, but when you click the downwards button somewhere over here, you should be able to activate your membership for this tool, which is $15 per month. In other words, it essentially takes $15 out of your credits for you to be able to use this tool. Once that is done, click Save and Start. So last few things here. So just the last couple of things here we want to do is click on this draft Gmail, click underneath message, this expand button. And here where it says your full name, replace it with your full name, and then replace these 3 fields for your signature. So your full name, your email address, and your phone number. And no, before you ask, can you add in your, nice looking email image there? No, you can't. And there's a good reason why you shouldn't, even if you could. It's because emails with images attached to people that have never received an email from you, the likelihood of them being considered spam is really high, right? So you want to keep it simple. You just want to enter in all of your relevant information in text format. You do need to do one last thing, which is set up your Google credentials, because we're going to need to draft stuff into Gmail and then also send ourselves back a few emails. So for that, we have an awesome video here by Nate Herc, who's pretty huge in this whole N8N workflow community. And he's got a 5-minute video that you can watch to set up your Google credentials. So in that way you can go ahead and use Gmail. And of course, for the second workflow, you want to make sure that you're sending it to your email address and not the filler that we have in here. So click on Send Gmail, the second workflow, double click, and where it says the to your at email.here, just replace that with your email address. So then when you get the finished product, it goes to your inbox. So once all of that is done, you should be able to use this tool. So let's do a test. In this dropdown right now, we have 2 options. So the first one is the listing scraper, and the second one is the post generator for when you do have those confirmations by the listing agents. So let's execute this first one. Let's do Surrey this time. Community could be Wally, and I'll pick under 500K. Okay, so actually, and I don't know why this happened, but most likely it will happen for you because it just disconnected something that it wasn't supposed to. So as you can see, after the 1 loop, it stopped running. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to go each time for all the 50 items. But because in this case, it didn't find an email address and there wasn't a loop connecting back, it stopped. We don't want that. So if you import the workflow and you see here that after this if node, the true is connecting, but the false isn't connecting, all you're going to do is click plus, hold down on it, drag it, and drag it back to this process each listing node. So let's click execute. Gonna have to do it again. Okay, perfect. So as you can see here, even though it was false, it's starting to now loop, and it found one of the emails out of the 5 listings that it's done so far. It found one of the realtors, so now it's working properly. Very important step. If this false isn't connecting back to the process each listing node, you have to manually drag it and connect it over. Now, obviously, you don't want to go inside of N8N every single time you want to use these workflows. So to avoid doing that, all you're going to do is double click on these 2 form triggers over here. So let's get the first one. It'll already have like the test URL selected. You don't want that. You want the production URL. Click on that. Click copy. Now when you paste it, it'll bring you to that form. You can go ahead and bookmark it. And now you don't need to go back into N8N. Same idea for the second one. Go ahead, click on production URL, copy it, paste, and you can go ahead and bookmark it. So at this point, you're fully up and running. And again, what would have taken you maybe like 10 hours a week is now taking you a measly 15 to 20 minutes. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe at the bottom. And please do join the free Skool group because that's where you're going to find the workflow document. See you in the next one.